Okay, hi Ben, how are you?
How are you, Niamh?
I'm good, I'm good. So Ben, what's your name, your age, and what is your disability?
My name is Ben Rowsome. I'm 20 years old. I'm currently studying physics in Trinity College Dublin, and I have autism spectrum disorder.
Cool. And Ben, so Ben just wrote an article about his first year experience. He addressed his own personal experience and then kind of like generally gave guidelines for other students coming in who have disabilities. And it was a great article. So I'm basically just asking Ben kind of questions about his article, but also just about his experience. So you talk a lot about Freshers Week and structuring Freshers Week, and then also then how that leads into kind of structuring your week in college. So I
Hmm.
was just wondering, how do you structure it around your disability, and then how did that like routine become about?
Yeah, well, I suppose having autism that comes with its challenges, and those challenges won't necessarily be the same for someone else with autism. Various people will face different challenges depending on where they are in the spectrum. But certainly for me, I feel that I have to have some sort of routine to keep my anxiety at a minimum, because once I get into any sort of fluster at all, it could be in the middle of the day or it could even be when I get home. I just find it very hard to focus on things from there on in if I have whatever work due for the next day or whatever. So it's more just allowing the week to flow as easily as it possibly can. And because college is so much less structured than, say, secondary school, primary school, whatever, I mean, you could have, say, a lecture at 9 and your next one is until 5. But
Yeah.
then you could have a string of lectures from like 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock or whatever. It'll vary from day to day and from semester to semester, obviously. So that's why I feel it's important to know that I have a plan in place that is constant throughout um, throughout the weeks leading up to the exams and to reading week, etc.
Yeah.
So that's just the way I think about it.
And what then, going off of that, is your voice to students when a lot of lectures will be online next year? Like, what's your voice on keeping that structure consistent, like you were just mentioning?
Yeah, obviously, it's a funny one because it'll be obviously a medium that maybe a lot of people won't be used to, depending on what course they're doing. I myself, to be honest, wasn't totally accustomed to this way of learning, but I think we sort of have to accept now that this probably is going to be the way forward, certainly for this year coming. So, and obviously, like if you're spending a lot of time at home, say if that's where you're going to be doing most of your study with respect to online learning, I think it can become quite easy to. I think a lot of academics can relate to this, just getting distracted because you have so many things you can fidget with at your desk,
Yeah.
or maybe there. Yeah, I know it's something
The
we all
biggest
have to.
distraction for me is just getting food and then like
Yeah,
making coffee, and then
yeah,
I just like prolong it because I'm like, I don't want to do this, but
yeah,
then yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I think that's probably going to be the main issue for people. I mean, certainly when the online learning is happening, say in your own home. So I think it's just keeping some form of discipline on yourself, knowing, okay, I'm going to do some proper work from the hours of, say, whatever, 9 to blah blah blah, and then say you can go right now. I'll take a break. Being able, obviously, I think to find a suitable place in the house to study where there's these distractions, where you can focus as much as you can. Little things that sound maybe a bit stupid when you say them out loud, but
yeah.
they're going to become a big thing, I think, if this is the way forward.
Yeah,
Um,
and
the way I think it's better.
coming from someone as well like yourself, I rely a lot on structure with my own like stuff. So I find that the structure in my day is going to a lecture and then being able to see my friends.
Hmm.
So I would really encourage, and even myself, to like make sure that you're doing Zoom calls, or if you are in Dublin and you are near college and so are your friends, to like meet up where you can in
Yeah,
order
exactly.
to, yeah, like, because that's going to be a huge thing too. It's like, where can we actually meet? So I
Hmm.
think that's definitely something Trinity needs to put in place so that students have a structure, have a place to talk, because restrictions will be eased by then. But yeah, I completely agree. Um, so you talk a lot about as well about your chess society and how you were really involved in that. What's your
Hmm.
advice to a student with autism, in specifically speaking, when they approach society events?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I have to be honest. The chess society was the only one I got like properly involved in. I did sign up to a whole load more, pardon me, but I didn't really get involved a lot per se in some of the events that were happening in the other societies. It was only more because myself and my friend were playing a lot of chess in general, and we thought we'd give it a go. But I mean, I have to say though, for me in first year, it was more about finding my feet first. I think I myself made a conscious decision maybe not to go to as
Yeah,
many society events, just to find myself first, and then maybe say coming into the second semester or second year, then people can start to venture out a bit more. They might remember, oh, I signed up to whatever the fifth stock. You know, I'll go to one of their meetings on whatever, and then they can start gradually, if they want, getting involved in societies. If, like, obviously you're encouraged to sign up to as many societies as you want, does that mean you have to go to all their meetings in the first week? No, but you can start gradually, even over the semesters or over the years. I think definitely going to more and more of the events as you're managing your study a bit better each semester, because obviously it's a learning curve as
yeah,
well, because college is a, I certainly found it going into physics, it's a new way of learning, even though it's sort of a continuation of what you had done in the leaving cert. It's still a matter of looking at the work in a new way, and that's a skill I suppose you have to build up. And once you do manage to build that skill up better, you will find more time for whatever society events or seeing your friends more or whatever.
hmm,
So even if you do sign up to a whole plethora of societies, my advice wouldn't be to bombard yourself with all the events that are now at your disposal. I think it's more just, do what you want to do first, and then if you feel yourself becoming more involved, then just allow yourself to go with it, I
yeah.
suppose.
Definitely, I agree with just even any student that's going in, not to get overwhelmed by the opportunities, because you do have
Hmm.
3 to 4 years, maybe even 5 in some circumstances. So I
Yeah.
definitely think it is really good to find your feet even before you go in, or just kind of um plan on maybe like, like, yeah, no, I completely agree. I completely agree. Looking back, definitely. Um and you also talk about a lot about exams as well in the end of the article. So obviously you do have to reach out to the disability service in order to get exam accommodations. So I was just
Yes.
wondering what for you personally was it like reaching out to the disability service? Were you anxious about it, or were you kind of, like, how was that entire experience?
I wasn't. I mean, I know sometimes certain students can feel a little uncomfortable about it, but I sort of more took the attitude that the resources were there and that I should avail of them. As I did say in secondary school, I had a separate venue for my leaving cert exam and my junior cert exam as well, come to think of it. So, I mean, this wasn't, for me, it wasn't a new idea reaching out and availing of those services. For some, it will be a new idea because I won't necessarily have had um, accommodations, say, for junior cert or leaving cert. So they maybe will be anxious to reach out and just say whatever. But I think yeah, I certainly found one of the modules I did, they did mention the idea a lot. We were due to do, it was one of the online exams before the final exam, and they said, our lecturer said, if you do have a lens report, be sure to email me within the next few days so I can add the extra few minutes
Yeah,
uh, to your online exam. And I think it was a big deal for me that he said it in a casual way. It wasn't this taboo thing. It was like, oh, if you have a lens report, just make sure you
yeah,
email. You know,
yeah,
I think that kind of attitude is important, but we don't necessarily see it everywhere. I mean, that's no criticism of any of the course officers or whatever, but um, I think sometimes the way in which it's presented throughout the college may discourage people to maybe go and look for them, because they might be embarrassed to say, well, actually, I'm not doing my exams now. Yes, I'm actually doing them in the college. And you might be afraid, will I get funny looks, or will I just go
Yeah.
yay or nay, or
People might
so
ask you like, where are you going? Why aren't you here? Yeah. So you
yeah,
have,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. hmm hmm and I maybe struggled a little bit with that the first time around when I was doing my exams for the Christmas. I might have been a little bit hesitant to tell people, but I don't know if that was a case of I didn't know them well enough at this point, or it was purely a case of maybe I was a little embarrassed. So I think maybe it is an issue that needs to be addressed, because the way in which we talk about it, I think, will influence whether people will avail of them, not being embarrassed, or if it's more a case we have to highlight more that the accommodations are there.
Mm,
So it's certainly one worth discussing from time to time in that respect.
I definitely agree. And then, yeah, so we've talked a lot about like change in terms of college. So how, what's the advice to you? Because change in college is such a big thing. Like, I feel like for me, every day is different. No day is like the same. Even if you have a
Mm-hmm.
structure and a routine, like everything's so different each day. What advice then would you give to students with like disabilities, how to like deal with change? And yeah, because that's a big thing.
Yeah, well, I think the first thing worth addressing is the fact that change is inevitable, as you sort of mentioned yourself. It's a part of college life. You know, it may be a case of you're due to have a lecture one day, and at the last second, it's either cancelled or it's moved venue or it's moved time, and you're scrambling for information as to where to go within the next 30 seconds. Obviously, that's a bit more of a um, dramatic example, but even as you said, the structure in the week and little bits and pieces can change. I mean, what I would say is every problem that you're posed, there can be something done about it. It's not a case of, oh, that changed and now I'm just sort of it's all in the air and there's nothing I can do. I mean, if it comes to a case where you're absolutely clueless, there might be a helpful student within the course that might be able to. And again, if everyone else doesn't know what to do, or if you don't know what to do, chances are that everyone else is in the
Yeah.
same boat as. I think that's the first thing you have to consider, in that you're not alone in a particular situation. If it happens that you are completely lost and don't know what to do in a situation like that, you could certainly approach one of the course officers. Like, let's say a lecture of mine is moved, I could go to the science course office and go, look, I really don't know where I'm supposed to be now, or I don't know what to do about this. What do I do? It goes without saying, obviously, that the disability services have been incredibly helpful to me throughout the first year. I visited their drop-in office a good few times, and they were able to help me out with various bits and bobs. So don't be afraid. What I would say is, don't be afraid to approach people like that, because it's okay to not know. I mean, being new to this environment and to the whole campus itself, it's not possible to know everything and know what to do in a circumstance where there is change or something else has been altered. But it can obviously
Definitely.
be extremely stressful within the first few moments of finding out that something has changed.
Mm.
So
Like
that would
even
be the
I'm going
advice.
into, yeah, I'm going to fourth year, and when like a lecture changes, I'm like, oh my God, what? And then
Yeah,
everyone's texting each other.
yeah,
So like I think it's good even if there's like a course group chat, which usually is made,
yeah, yeah.
to even engage with that, because people are probably, as you said, in the same boat if something
Mm-hmm.
like that happens. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. But yeah, it's been really good talking to you, and I hope that you've been doing good too, and that this advice, that people can read it and learn about your disability in particular and all kinds of disabilities. And yeah, so thanks so much, and yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's great, Niamh. Thanks very much. That was great.